Picture this. It's 1 a.m. and you're about to stop working your shift as a food delivery driver when suddenly you get an order for one thing, a medium Coke. You think, that's a little odd, but you accept the order anyway. But when you arrive to the delivery address, you see a massive house with no lights on. So you text the customer saying, "I'm here," and they reply with,
"Doors unlocked. Come upstairs."
Because this is an experience I went through, and what happened next made me quit that job forever. Let me explain. So when I was in high school, I used to be a Postmates delivery driver. I wanted to have a job, but I also wanted the freedom to only work when I felt like it. So this seemed like the perfect thing for me. And at first, it was. I genuinely enjoyed doing it until one particular night. Because there would be times where I would get a weird order, or the location I was supposed to deliver it to was a little sketchy, but nothing like this. This night was different because there I was at almost 1 a.m. with my eyes barely staying open after working 6 hours on a Postmates shift. And you might be asking, "Tyler, why are you working that late?" Well, I had a goal of making a certain amount of money that day, and I was super close to it. So I was just gonna keep going until I finally got to it. But I got so tired that I was just about to forget about that goal and hit log off on the app when suddenly I get an order. My phone buzzes, and usually I love that sound because that sound equals money. But this time it was different because after looking at this order, I wanted to throw my phone out the window. The person ordering only wanted one thing, a medium Coke. No food, just a drink. And at first I was annoyed. I was thinking, who orders just a drink this late at night? Like, why would you need a single Coke delivered at 1 a.m.? With all the fees and everything, a single Coke was gonna cost like 10 times what it normally would if you just went to the gas station and got one. So that was a little weird. But then I looked closer at the map and saw just how far their delivery location was. Which, if you've ever been a delivery driver, you want the destinations that are far because that means more money. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this one last delivery and it should get me to the goal I wanted to reach. The GPS took me down these winding roads, further and further from any city lights. And I'd never been to this part of town before, so I wasn't familiar with it at all. But as I'm driving, with each turn, the houses got fewer and fewer and it became more quiet. I had a weird feeling in my stomach about this delivery, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. I kept checking the GPS to make sure I was going the right direction, but after about 15 minutes of driving, it said that I arrived to the location. There was a huge iron gate that was rusted and creaking open, swaying around in the wind making sounds. So I stopped for a second, wondering if I should just leave the Coke at the gate and call it a night. But in this person's order, they specifically said to let them know when I got there and they would come out and get the drink. So I drove through the gate and up this super long driveway, but when my headlights shined on the house, I was shocked at what I saw. It was a massive old mansion just sitting there in the dark, except for one flickering porch light that kept flicking on and off as if it was sending some sort of signal. I parked my car at the bottom of these steps that led up to the front door, and I turned off my engine, which made everything quiet. When my lights turned off, I noticed that there was no TV glow from windows, no kitchen lights, nothing inside that house that actually showed someone was inside there waiting for their drink. So I sat there for a minute, thinking about my choices. I could just drive away and say I wasn't able to find the place, but I'd already come this far, and canceling now meant no payment at all. And I needed that money, because this was back during prime Fortnite days, so you know I was saving up to buy those female Fortnite skins because they looked cooler. So I grabbed the drink, took a deep breath, and got out of my car. The house was so dark that I had to turn on my phone flashlight, which honestly didn't really help. The front yard was a mess. There was a bunch of overgrown grass that literally went up to my knees. Like I was waiting for a snake to come out and bite me. If a snake bit me, would you get the venom out? Okay, I don't know what I was doing. When I finally reached the front door, I took a second to catch my breath. Then I knocked on the door. Not too hard at first, because the silence around me was so heavy that any noise felt super loud. But after knocking, no answer. So I tried again. Knocking louder this time. Still, nothing but silence. Not even footsteps coming to the door or a voice calling out, "Just a minute." Just silence. I stood there for a few seconds trying to decide what to do. Finally, I pulled out my phone and texted the customer through the app. "Hey, I'm outside with your order." The reply came back almost instantly, which was weird because it seemed like no one was home. My phone buzzed and I looked down to read a message that made me question this whole situation. It said, "Doors unlocked. Come upstairs." 4 words that sent chills down my spine. Or is it 5 words? No, is it 6? Door is unlocked. Come up. Upstairs is 1 word. It's 5 words. I stood there for a solid minute, just staring at my phone. There was no way I was going inside this creepy house. I mean, I was doing Postmates for a couple months up to this point, and I was never asked to actually come inside the house. So I'm thinking to myself, this has to be a joke, right? But then I remembered how far I'd driven to get here, all the gas I wasted, and I knew the payment for completing this job was gonna be a lot just based off the travel I had to do. And like I said, I needed those female Fortnite skins. Plus, if I cancel the order now, I might get a bad rating, which would mean fewer deliveries in the future. I tried calling the customer, thinking I could just maybe ask them to come to the front door, but the phone rang and rang, and went straight to voicemail. A generic automated voice told me to leave a message, so I hung up without saying anything. That made everything feel even weirder. Like whoever ordered the Coke didn't want to speak to me over the phone. I stood on their porch, wondering why someone would order just a medium Coke for delivery to a destination this far out. Was this some kind of prank? Or was this something much, much worse? Was someone watching me right now, laughing at the dumb delivery guy standing on their porch? Or was someone waiting inside, hoping I'd be stupid enough to enter a stranger's house alone? My brain kept screaming at me to leave, to just drop the drink and run, but something else, the Fortnite skins, made me reach for that doorknob. So I gripped the cold metal knob and turned it slowly. And just like they said in the text, the front door was open. No resistance. No locked door to save me from my bad decisions, just a door swinging in the darkness, inviting me in. So I stepped inside. The door creaked open, and I swear it sounded like those horror movies when I stepped inside. The first thing I noticed was how massive the entryway was. It was almost completely dark inside, except for this weird orange glow coming from the end of the house. I stood there for a second, still holding that stupid medium Coke, wondering if I should just set it on the ground and leave, because the house looked like someone could have lived there, but they definitely weren't taking good care of it. So after not finding anyone, I shout out loud, "Hello? Postmates delivery?" My voice bounced off the walls, coming right back to me, making the house feel even more empty than it was. Once again, I didn't get an answer back, just silence. But it was the silence that felt like someone was watching you. The air inside the house was freezing cold, way colder than outside, and it smelled musty. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I finally realized where that orange glow was coming from. It was a candle. Not an electric fake candle either. A real candle with a real flame, placed with one at the end of this huge hallway and another at the top of the staircase, which meant someone had to actually be here to light these candles. I took a few steps further in, with the floorboards creaking underneath my feet. I saw the staircase they mentioned and started walking. Each step made the house sound like it was gonna fall apart, getting worse and worse as I went higher. When I got to the top of the staircase, I said out loud again, but this time I was a little more quiet because I wasn't sure if I wanted an answer anymore. Still though, no response. When I reached the top of the stairs, I saw another light coming from the end of the hallway inside a room, with the door slightly open so I could just see it. I figured that was where this person must have been. I recognized the carpet under my feet was super worn out in the middle, almost as if thousands of people have walked this same path many times. I stood at the top of the stairs for what felt like forever, just trying to convince myself to leave the drink and get out of there. But I'd come this far already. If something was gonna happen, I just accepted it. I was really wishing now that my parents put me in martial arts when I was younger, instead of a bunch of other sports that I sucked at anyway. When I reached the door at the end of the hallway, I just stood there, staring at it. My hand was shaking as I reached out to push it open. So I slowly tapped the door, opening it. But the room was completely empty, except for the candle lit up inside. The flames cast these weird dancing shadows on the walls that made it look like someone might have been in there, even though I was completely alone. Or at least, I thought I was. Because the windows were covered with what looked like old bed sheets, yellow and stained. They were nailed to the window frames, blocking my view of the outside. Was it maybe to keep people from seeing inside the house? Or was it maybe to keep people from inside the house to not be able to look out of it? I wasn't sure. So now I shouted to the point where anyone could hear me. "Hello? I have your drink!" But the silence that followed felt heavy, as if it was pushing against me. And that's when I heard it.